Look what I'm doing. I'm collecting bush tucker, but I'm doing it directly into the blender. Saves a lot of work this way. This is how I make this ruby saltbush drink from now on. I could extract pure ruby saltbush juice, couldn't I, from these berries? I quite look at them. Aren't they lovely? Takes a while. One needs lots of little children to help one. Lots of little Australian children with their nimble fingers picking Australian bush tucker. That's what we need. Full of nutrients. Very labour intensive, but I could, as I said in my other video, I could just shake all the branches off into a wheelbarrow or something. I could. Oh. How do I look? I'm in my old rags as usual from St. Vinny's. Labour intensive. The red berries, it's another thing. As far as shaking them off into a wheelbarrow would be concerned, the red berries do fall off very easily. They almost fall off when you touch them. So they do come off very easily. You could actually put a sheet or a blanket around the bush and just shake the bush and they'd all fall off. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? They do fall off very easily. Look, aren't they wonderful? Another nice autumn day. Yes, when you want to do things quickly, a sheet under the bush would be a very good idea. I could do that, then I'd have them all on the ground to pick up. There are some down here, look. Some have already fallen down. Of course, the birds take them. You could break the branches off, yes, and shake them that way. You just touch them with your finger and they fall off. Off. Sweetness with a touch of salt. I guess that's why they're called saltbush. Now fellow bush tucker collectors, look, this is African boxthorn you're seeing. This is African boxthorn. Learn to recognize it. It is not ruby saltbush. Oh, let's just hold up the ruby saltbush in front of it. That's ruby saltbush. That's ruby saltbush. That's ruby saltbush here. That's African boxthorn behind. You don't want to make a mistake and you don't want to misidentify when you're a bush tucker gatherer. These are African boxthorn, said to be edible by some. My grandfather used to eat these are African boxthorn. My grandfather used to eat them cooked. My boyfriend's eaten some. What do they taste like? Again, I wouldn't advise eating these unless you consult a bush tucker expert. Let's try one just to see what the flavour's like. It's like a sweet tomato, very very sweet. Very sweet, like a sweet tomato. They're a member of the Solanaceae family, these ones. It's so sweet. But we're talking about bush tucker here. We're talking about these little ruby saltbush. That's what we're collecting. Just look at them carefully. Can I get a bit closer to them? Just look, when they're ripe, you only just have to touch them with your finger and they fall off. See? Watch. So if you put your coat under a bush tucker, if you put your coat under a ruby saltbush, and you wanted to collect them quickly, they'd all fall under. They just fall off into your coat. They would, or a sheet or a blanket. So looking at African boxthorn, yes, I've just reminded how much they taste just like goji. These are a type of goji berry. These are Lycium ferocissimum, and they're just a relative of the goji berry. I've got that strong goji berry flavour in my mouth now. I always buy the dried goji berries, but it's exactly the same flavour. Of course, they're poison when they're green. You don't eat green goji berries. You don't eat green African boxthorn berries. Of course, I'm not a wild food expert. Before you ever eat any wild food, always consult a wild food expert or an indigenous Australian food expert. Oh, yes, these ones aren't quite as ripe as they should be. You want them to be a good... I wasn't going to talk about African boxthorn, but since they're growing near these ruby saltbush, we may as well look at them and identify them. So you wouldn't eat the green ones. You wouldn't eat those green ones because they're poison. And that one's not ripe enough. You want them a nice dark orange to red colour. Where's a nice ripe one? There's some nice ripe ones. Of course, you want to find out too. The council might have sprayed these, so you've got to be careful. You don't want to eat something that's been sprayed with weedicide. So yes, just going off on a tangent here, just looking at African boxthorn because we want to be able to identify ruby saltbush, don't we? That's what ruby saltbush look like. Look, aren't they beautiful? Beautiful little berries, and they're a different flavour to African boxthorn. These are lovely. These taste like salt and sugar combined. Just a touch of salt. Okay, let's just put my jacket under the bush and see what happens when we shake the bush a little bit. Oh, that must be how clever people do it. That must be how clever people do it. That must be the quick way to do it. Look at those, they're collected very quickly. A few leaves, but don't forget the leaves are edible as well. That's a good way to collect a whole lot quickly, isn't it? Yes. Let's have a close-up. That's a quick way to collect a whole lot. It would be a quick way. And so obviously that's a quick way to do things if you want to collect them in a hurry. Even if you're hand picking them, you can pick them up much quicker if they're all much more quickly if they're all concentrated in the one spot. One learns things all the time, doesn't one? I'm going to put these in the blender and I can extract pure juice to see what it's like. Yes, that's a quick way to do it. I must get a sheet. So, getting around looking at the ruby saltbush berries. These ones are growing amidst African boxthorn. See all those spikes? Those thorns are African boxthorn spikes. But those are ruby saltbush berries. In the afternoon autumn sun. It's lots of fun anyway, isn't it? And when you come to Australia one day, and you will, you know what ruby saltbush berries look like. See you then.